Okay. Hi guys, I'm Celtic Reviews, and it's been a minute since I've uploaded. I was sick, sounded like shit, didn't really want to record anything, sounded like pure ass. Just to let you guys know, the Path of Exile 2 difficulty video is still happening, but this video needed to be made. So, one of my most anticipated games of 2025 is under controversy. Kingdom Come Deliverance 2. Now, I am a massive fan of the very first game. I backed it on Kickstarter. I played the shit out of it. I enjoyed every moment of it. Is the game perfect? No. But it's one of the most immersive, rich, compelling RPGs I've ever played. And that's why the very first game is in my top 5 RPGs of all time. And it's a game that I just absolutely adore. And I still play to this day. I play it yearly since it came out. KCD2, I think near the middle or beginning of last year, something like that, gets announced. And it immediately just got me excited because I've been waiting years for a sequel to KCD. And immediately when pre-orders went live, I'm not ashamed to say it, and I know I'm probably going to get backlash, I pre-ordered. I pre-ordered the Gold Edition because I know how good this game is going to be. And from all the footage I've seen and from all the previews I've watched, it seems like my assumption was true, and I'm planning on keeping my pre-order. But that's not the point of that. The point of this video is to talk about the controversy and give my take on it. So KCD2 has been under controversy since a rumored, rumored ban was put on the game. There was an article that came out that Saudi Arabia has officially banned KCD2 from having a minute-long unskippable gay cutscene. Now, as someone who's played a shit ton of the first KCD, I knew this was a bogus article. Because the very first KCD doesn't have unskippable cutscenes. Every single cutscene in the game can be skipped no matter what. And I knew this article was bogus, but people believed it. They immediately ran to the internet and made videos boycotting the game, saying you shouldn't support it, the devs have gone woke, they're putting gay shit in our games. The typical anti-woke extremist bullshit they typically do, right? So, the rumors get so bad and so out of control that the game director had to put out a statement. Now, the very first statement he put out, I will agree and will admit, was not the best way he could have gone about it. It was a very vague post just saying it's an RPG, every action has a consequence, and that, this is the game that he wanted to make. No one influenced him otherwise about the game that he wanted to make. It's a very vague post that he put out. And honestly, in my opinion, if he would have just done what he did more recently as a response to all this earlier, instead of what he did with this response, I do think we would not be having this conversation now. But that's not what happened. This just caused even more speculation and more outrage from people who are just dumb. Well, let me rephrase. The people who were just asking like, hey, is this in the game? Have no issue with you. The issue I have are with people like this, which we'll get to in a bit, but here's the screenshots of comments that I've seen from, just people being ignorant and just blatantly hateful. But anyway, it got bad again, so the director put out a second response, which is a more cohesive response and something that he should have done. He put out a very extensive response, and he responded to a lot of the rumors and basically point by point, basically confirming that, hey, there are no unskippable cutscenes in this game. This game is not banned anywhere that they know of, and they do talk about the person of color that was in screenshots and basically explain how he's in Bohemia at this time, basically saying he was traveling with Sigmund's army, and he is not from Europe, he's from a different place entirely, which would make sense. So I'm happy with that response. However, that is not the response that garnered the very split reaction. In this response, the game director confirmed that Henry can be in a same-sex relationship in KCD2, and it is completely optional. Now, we do know this is completely optional because Grums has put out a very long post where he's communicated with someone who has played the game, actually showed proof that this person played and beat the game, and they go into great detail about, how woke this game is, which apparently it is not. Which is what I figured. A lot of the things that Warhorse does with KCD, especially in the first game, is very historically accurate to the time period. And everything that's with KCD2 seems to be lining up with the same thing, that this game is very historically accurate, which is, why their game got so big. He basically confirmed that in KCD2, that yes, there is a gay, relationship that you can have. However, that it is not as explicit as the relationships you can get into with females. He did say the scene that involves the two men are basically just them kissing. It's like maybe 3-4 seconds of it, and then it cuts to them in bed together. Nothing happening in the bed, just them laying there. So it was not even graphic. It's not even explicit. It's not as explicit apparently as female scenes, which kind of figured if you played the first Kingdom Come Deliverance, you know. But they're not just doing this for inclusivity. They're wanting to represent how that relationship was viewed in medieval Bohemia, which, if you don't know, for the people who don't believe there was gay people, there wasn't any gay people in medieval Bohemia. Here, one simple search will tell you that yes, there was, but it was very frowned upon. It was shunned. It was not accepted, unlike something like in ancient Greece, where this kind of thing was accepted. So yes, this is still historically accurate, but what people are mostly complaining about is the fact that Henry is the one who can make the decision. They claim they wouldn't care if it was just another character that was, but since because it's Henry, they have an issue. Let me just state this: KCD2 is a role-playing game. They have come out in interviews and said that this game was this is the game that they wanted to make in the first place, but because of budget limitations and hardware limitations, they couldn't make it. So KCD2 is technically the Kingdom Come Deliverance that they've always wanted to make in the first place. This game, they wanted to focus more on player freedom and choice for Henry. They wanted you, the player, to mold Henry however you wanted to. They've already said in KCD2 there's way more choices than in KCD1, and a lot of these choices will have consequences attached to them. They wanted to make a proper RPG with KCD2. I already knew this was probably going to be a thing. Do I care? No. Are they forcing Henry to be gay? No. Are they forcing Henry to be bi? No. Only you, the player, can make that choice. That's why it's called a player choice. The Henry you make in KCD2 is the canonical Henry for your story. They're not looking at you and be like, oh, by the way, Henry is now gay. You can no longer be with females. You can no longer be celibate. You are forced to be with men. They are not doing that. They are simply stating that you can choose to do it if you want to. You can go out of your way to do it if you choose to. Is that a problem? No. These people are claiming that they are now making Henry canonically bisexual. No, they are not. They are not making him that way. If that was the case, they'll be forcing him in relationships with men and women. But all this is up to you. I had the same debate with Cinder Shadows about Baldur's Gate 3. If you've been with my channel long enough, you know what I'm about to talk about. He was going after BG3 for only being about the sexual material. I proved him wrong. The game is optional when it comes to that. You can play the entire game of BG3 and not have sex with anyone, not even get into a romance with anyone. You can do the same thing in Kingdom Come Deliverance 1. There is an achievement in the game for you staying celibate throughout the entire playthrough because it's optional. You can do the same thing in KCD2. You can choose to be straight, you can choose to be bi, or you can choose to be gay, or you can choose to not be with anyone. It is a role-playing game. It gives you the choice. Do I have an issue with this? As I said, no. I am all for inclusivity and representation in games. This sort of inclusivity and representation is not harmful to anything. They're still keeping it relatively historically accurate to the time period as it was confirmed. They're still keeping it historically accurate. Okay, this is not a Dragon Age the Veilguard situation where the entire game revolved around political stances and forced inclusivity and forced representation, where it just feels like the whole game was made around it. That was the issue people had with. That's the kind of inclusivity and representation I have an issue with, where the whole game is not. The story was not written to be a great story. It was written to be a fucking political stance from the writers and the game directors' own personal politics, and they focused on that more than the actual game. That's why Veilguard failed as hard as it did. It wasn't good. But things like Baldur's Gate 3 are things that I support. That kind of inclusivity, that kind of representation. Same thing with Cyberpunk 2077. Same thing with, with what they're doing with KCD2. The kind of inclusivity and representation that I support in gaming, and I know I've never made this clear enough, so I'll do it now. If it fits the game, if it doesn't feel out of place, if the game is good on its own, if the game has a great story, great characters, great gameplay, it shouldn't matter. As long as it's not shoved in your face, as long as it doesn't feel like the entire game revolved around it, I'm okay with it. Of course, there are exceptions like Life is Strange, but Life is Strange is a narrative-based game that doesn't revolve around a lot of gameplay. Things like Baldur's Gate 3 was a great example of a game having diversity, inclusivity, and representation and still being a fantastic video game because they did it well. And games like Dragon Age the Veilguard failed because they focused way too much on trying to make a political stance and not trying to make a good video game. That's why Veilguard failed. What I'm saying is this. Do I think we should be boycotting KCD2? No. Okay, they're not going out of their way to make Henry a trans character. They're not going out of their way to make Henry canonically gay. They're literally just giving you an option to make Henry gay if you wanted to, or you can just have him be straight if you wanted to, or just have him not be with anyone. It's just player choices. They're giving you more choices on how you want to build your own Henry. Anyways, guys, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Hope you guys had a fantastic day, and I'll talk to you guys next time.